You've heard the story. So what is this story all about? What lessons are to be learned here? Firstly, you may think this is an adventure story. Not really. It's really a tragedy. And here's why. Jason has so many things going for him, like he's the prince and he's well educated and he's super courageous. But we have to ask this dark question. Why is it when Jason gets back and hands over the Golden Fleece to Peleus, Peleus does not give him the throne? No, Peleus again disrespects Jason just as he disrespected Aeson, Jason's dad. Well, we can see that within this family there's all sorts of dynamics that are pretty dirty, right? Beginning with Peleus being the half-brother of Aeson, or the bastard son. Of course, he can claim to be the son of a god, and he claims it's Poseidon who's my dad. But this is what was done back in the day. You would just claim that your mother had slept with a god, and nobody is allowed to turn down a god. Do people believe that? Did they believe that back then? I don't know. The history of Iolcus and Thessaly is messy. There's a lot of tribal warfare going on. So we can chalk up this story as a story about this tribal warfare. And Jason's dad, Aeson, didn't have a strong enough support system or army to either keep the throne or take it back. Which brings me to my second point, that perhaps Aeson was not such a good king, and that the people of Thessaly did not support him. This is why Peleus is able to not just take the throne, he seems to have the support of the people. And as king, you need the support of the people, and you need to have a good organization, which means army. I base these ideas on my reading of the story because you don't read about how the people gave up a hue and cry and tried to fight off Peleus and all this business. No, they sort of just accepted it that he's king now and Aeson is god. And when Jason shows up, the people don't come around him and say, "Oh, Jason, you should get the throne." None of that happens. The third point is this. Jason is obviously lacking. He lacks the skills of deal making and people reading. To begin with, Jason needs another type of education aside from those things he learned from the books. He needs to be taken to a real badass neighborhood somewhere in some city and thrown in there and see if he can fend for himself. In such a neighborhood, you learn how to deal with nasty characters like Peleus, and he would learn how to detect liars like Peleus. And he would also learn to believe people's actions, not their moving lips, like Medea. Any woman who would betray her father and kill her brother, well, she's willing to do it again, and she does. Grounded in street smarts, Jason would see through Peleus and Medea, and he would learn how to negotiate with such people, like make a deal with Aeetes for the Golden Fleece, not steal it from him. The other skill is building an organization. Jason had that wonderful crew that truly supported him. And then there's all those hundreds of people he met whilst they were on their journey. Why didn't he reach out to some of those people and bring him back to Thessaly with him? Jason's greatest fault is he's naive. He believes people he shouldn't be believing. And he lacked that sort of street smarts. So, is Jason leadership material? I'd say that Jason is a young man who did not know his limits. And every leader needs to know his limits. Thanks for watching and listening to Jason and the Argonauts. Don't forget to subscribe because I have new stories coming up with these little lessons. This is all a part of my work on leadership in literature. See you around.